Hello, this is the Tradesight U.S. Stocks and Futures Market Preview for Thursday, the 16th of February and Friday, the 17th of February, 2017. As usual, we don't do market previews Thursday night going into Friday because the week's basically played out unless there's something special going on this week. Definitely not anything special going on as we've got options expiration and a 3-day weekend ahead, so Friday's probably going to be a complete bust. Thursday might still see some action, so we'll talk about that. Here's a look at the ES front month futures contract. This is the daily chart of the broad market futures form. We had a 13 sell signal 2 days ago. We're already above the risk line of that sell signal. The risk line to this was very tight compared to where the sell signal came into place, simply because the risk signal has to do with the biggest ranged days of the count. And frankly, all these days have been so tiny. It's been a really boring intraday market for the most part that there just wasn't any big days to stretch that risk line. So we've already closed above it. We're going to get a new, actually today, with the close above it, we got a new 9-bar startup phase. If I go to projection mode, there you go. So we got a 13 sell signal and another 9-bar startup phase completed. Amazing. But remember, today was options unraveling. So we got the options unraveling move. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's go through the action. The volume was light today, except for Sirius Radio had traded a few hundred million above normal. That added to the NASDAQ total. Crude oil down 20 cents, again flat at $53. That's like 3 days in a row with a close right there. Gold up $9.50, doesn't mean much. S&P gained 11, not much there. Again, when you see the options unraveling move, you'll get it. NDX up 31 after the 13 sell signal there the other day. Stocks up 7 or 8 points. No new high there. Dead. Look how flat the stocks have been for 2 weeks now. Biotech's big day up 55 points. That's what pushed the NASDAQ basically by itself. The VIX was, but this is what's interesting. We had divergence. Rich mentioned this in the room. The VIX was on the rise this morning. We had a small gap down. Usually the VIX is on the rise and it kept pushing higher. You'd mean the market rolls. Very unusual day to have the VIX rising the way it did. Now, granted, keep in mind the VIX rising back to 11 and change after being at record lows, but the VIX rising and the market's still going up. I'm going to attribute that to the options unraveling move, so we'll look at that in the intraday action in a moment. Talked about the 10-day moving average of the trend after that low reading yesterday. Look at this. Dropping like a lead balloon on the 10-day moving average after being above 1 for a month and a half. Dropped back to 99 cents with a 0.86 reading here. And remember, the next 4 days that are going to drop off the moving average are all really big numbers. So this thing could come crashing back very quickly at this point in time. That's a warning sign if it does. NASDAQ volume, like I said, 1.9 billion shares, but you could probably wipe 200 of that off from SiriusXM being over the normal. So that means, basically right where we've been. Advanced decline ratio on the NASDAQ plus 800, advanced decline ratio on the New York plus 500. Google loses $2.71. Really flat there. Apple up another 49 cents. New closing high, didn't do much, so that's a doji on Apple, by the way. It was higher, it opened higher than it closed. Amazon up $6.31. This thing's a daily chart breakout. It'd be interesting to see. Now keep in mind it's a daily chart breakout, but it's 11 candles up here on the chart. Let's see, what else do we have? Netflix up $1.45. Tesla down $1.22. And remember, Tesla had a 13 sell signal 2 days ago, so that's interesting. TLT down 55 cents, near lows. Dow Jones up 100. Why not? Goldman Sachs up $1 to 250 after getting a 13 sell signal yesterday, still under the risk line there. So this is a real interesting time for the market. You've unraveled the options, and let's look at that now. Remember what an options unraveling move is. We look for it on Wednesday of options expiration week. Here's the 5-minute chart of the ES day. So we gapped down a little. We were very flat for the first hour, and then how does options unraveling work? Options unraveling works that if you, from that 1 hour mark, 1 hour into the market, if you start to head in one direction, in this case the first few candles were up, and volume holds up, in this case futures volume actually picked up from where it was the first hour, then the rest of the day usually trends in that direction. They're closing out options positions for the ahead of the expiration on Friday. This is a classic options unraveling move, and it's now done, I would say, especially between these 2 days. So that leaves that interestingly means that there's probably less options protection on the market than there has been in a while right now. We're heading into Thursday, where there's some economic data we'll talk about in a second, and then Friday with expiration and the 3-day weekend. Not that the market's in any risk here over these next 2 days, but usually with that scenario, if you start dropping quickly, you'd have some concern on Friday, a little bit of panic because there's less protection on the market. That's probably not a concern here right now. Here's the Nasdaq side again, up about just 40, 50 points for the last 2 days, which isn't a big deal. All right, let's take a look at the data that's coming out still. So on Thursday, we've got housing starts and building permits, the weekly initial and continuing jobless claims, and Philly Fed all an hour before the bell. Natty gas numbers an hour into the bell market. On Friday, the only thing is leading indicators 30 minutes in, and also obviously options expiration on Friday itself. I probably, as usual, ahead of a long weekend, and especially with options expiration and a long weekend, we probably won't post any new picks to the report for Friday. We will for Thursday. We'll call it Friday morning from the tape, and then probably everybody bails early. It's the last weekend probably for a lot of the country to go skiing and get out. It's a 3-day weekend. Monday we're closed, so everybody will be gone. So let's get some stuff done Thursday if we can, although with options unraveling done, who knows if there'll be anything to do. Friday morning, maybe a little bit, and then we're done, and everybody have a great weekend. Charts as usual brought to you by eSignal 12. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading rest of your week and a great long weekend.